Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and once again I'm here with Chandra with Aran Franklin Engineering, and we've all been watching the news on TV over the last week or two about the Texas floods. And Chandra, you and I were talking about elevation of the houses and how high the water came up, and you said that I said, "Are you tied into this?" And then you said, "Well, we actually did some work in San Marcos where they were elevating houses, and that happened down here after Ike. You could get some money, I think, from FEMA to elevate your house so that it was at a different height, higher up of the new numbers and that." And you said when you were working in San Marcos, they were bringing them up 19 feet above the ground.
That's right.
And you thought, man, that's an overkill. But now we've seen this flood, and San Marcos has had one, San Antonio's had one, uh, the Hill Country's now had one, where the water came up 20 and 27 feet. And it would have been like down here having a wave hit, because I was listening to the news the other day, and they were talking about for every so many feet what that's equivalent to moving walls and stuff like a tornado. The Weather Channel was talking about it. And so let's talk about, things are changing. People are elevating a lot more homes now. In fact, Ruidosa just had because of the burn and the fires they had up there, they had a mud, uh, more or less a mud, wasn't a mudslide, but flood, because wasn't anything to stop the water or absorb it. It just ran
Yeah.
over the ground, washed the dirt, and they had a flood there. So let's talk about elevating and how that's changing around some of the rivers, some of the lakes, and some of the recreational areas that you've seen.
Right. So like we were talking about San Marcos, I mean, 19 feet above grade is really high up there. And not only do
That's
you have
higher
to,
than us, I think.
yeah, it is. And you have to accommodate not only for the wind, it's going to still catch wind being that high up, but then you have all these water loads that are being, put on the foundation elements. So it's a pretty significant, foundation design that you have to do in order to elevate a house that high up. We're doing the same thing actually here in Galveston County. We're working with the Galveston County program on the elevation program, and I think they're planning on elevating about 300 homes. And so we're already in the beginning stages of that. And so we're trying. The goal is to try to get everything out of the floodplain, whether you're beachfront or whether you're on a lake or river. We're trying to get everything out of the flood zone so that we don't have these recurring losses,
Right.
because FEMA and your insurance companies, they're coming in and they're paying for these repetitive claims over and over and over again. So they decided it's better in the long run to spend the money now to get these homes in a grant program where they can just pay to elevate it once, and then you don't have those repetitive losses. But it's a pretty substantial design, because a lot of the houses, especially inland, are slab houses. And so
Right.
you're taking a house that was built to sit on the ground, and you're raising that brick house with a concrete foundation up, 10, 12, 19 feet. So it's not an insignificant design process, but it's very doable, and we're doing it in a lot of different areas. We're doing it here. We did it in San Marcos. We're actually working in a program in Florida right now. So the elevation is the new disaster recovery mitigation program that's being
Right.
pushed very hard, because they feel like a lot of these homes can be salvaged as long as we can get them up.
Up. You were talking about bringing a house off a slab, raising it up, and I've seen that happen here in Southeast Texas. In fact, Winnie, I watched a house from someone I know. It was built on the slab, but they raised it 3 or 3.5 foot, and it was neat the way they did it, because it wasn't anything like I expected. They ran
Right.
I-beams completely through
Yeah.
the house and used these big shipping metal bands that went around the bottom plate, and then they put their jacks on these I-beams and raised this house up, and then I believe they put in cinder blocks
Hmm.
under it, and then built the subfloor, and then sat it back down on it. You cut the bands and pull the bands out, and there you are. And
Right.
it's time consuming, like,
It
and
is.
time is money, but they don't have to worry as long as they can get their vehicles out now. They
That's
don't
right.
have to worry, and even their garage, I believe, was lifted and is different now. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not just on the coast,
That's
and then
right.
it's gone to the river, but like Harvey last year in Imelda, there were parts of southeast Texas that flooded, some of them twice in 2 years, if I'm
That's
not
right.
mistaken. Um,
We
that
had the same problem in Houston too. We have Braeswood and Meyerland, and
Right.
those areas have repetitive flooding. Have had multiple storms where they flood 2 or 3 times in a 2-year period. I mean, it's just been it's been so burdensome to
Right.
those families that live there. And these are well established, tightly packed neighborhoods. And when you start looking at the changes to infrastructure and how
Hmm.
that's redirecting floodwaters inside a big city like Houston, it's that's where they're really trying to get homes lifted up out of the floodplain as well. So we've done a lot of home elevations interior to Houston as
Hmm.
well as the county, and of course out by the hill country.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if people want to get information, because some people are getting help through the government program,
Yes,
some people are paying for it out of their own pocket because they're tired of the hassle. How can they get a hold of y'all and talk to you about, hey, we flooded twice in the last 6 years. What would it take, you know, to raise our house up? Is it best to go to you guys first and start the process, or find a contractor?
absolutely, because we have a whole list of contractors we can refer you to that
Okay.
specialize in this kind of work. And honestly, if you have an insurance claim in right now for repetitive flooding, they usually have what they call ICC money, which will feed in, give you an extra in order to lift that out of the floodplain to be compliant with the current flood regulations. So you can
Great.
actually get a little extra money that way. They may or may not tell you that, so you may need to do
Yeah,
your
ask
homework into
about,
that. Yeah.
anything. So, well, for more information and to get hold of them, go to their Aran and Franklin website at aranfranklin.com. Fill out the form. That way, it can all be tracked, and you've got they have the information they need at all times, and you have the information you need at all times. And I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we will be back next week with Chandra with Aran and Franklin. Chandra, thanks for joining us today. Until next time, I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye bye. Video equipment is sponsored by Crystal Beach Decor and More, located at 1959 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, and Beachy Beatnik Boutique and Jewelry, located at 970 Surfside and Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas. Thank you to these two businesses for being our 2025 video equipment sponsor for Bolivar Live.